Hi guys, Shelly here with the Gray Wren Nest. It's the end of June. I'm in Ohio, Zone 6B, and wow, did the weather change in just 1 week. We have struggled here in Ohio to get out of the 70s all June. I think I shared that with you in our last video. It was like that the whole month of June. Lots of rain, lots of storms, but my flowers are loving it. Look at these Supertunias. This is Supertunia Vista Paradise. And look at these Hydrangeas. These are little hotties. They're gonna burst open soon. I've done some maintenance. I'd like to share some of that with you. Walk around my garden, show you what's blooming, what's stopped. And then in a couple weeks, I hope to come back and show you some of my most beautiful blooms of the full season, which are my hydrangeas. I'm sorry I'm squinting, but the sun is in my eyes. So follow along and I'll take you around my garden. Let's start out at my mailbox. Have you watched Gardening with Creekside? And Jenny says, I'll share my messes and successes. Well, right now this is a success, but let me tell you, it was an absolute mess a few weeks ago because my main water line broke. Yeah, I don't know if an animal chewed through it or what, but look what happened here. I was devastated. But you know what? I decided that since it was a water issue, I was going to give it some time. I gave it some TLC, some extra talking to, singing to, extra loving care, plant food, and lots of water, and it paid me back. But right there's the culprit. That piece right there was broken off. Had to have been an animal. But it broke my heart to see it this way. But luckily, after 2 weeks, it sprang back into action, and I'm happy to report I think I might even actually like Supertunia Vista Snowdrift. What do you think? Look how much these Supertunia Vista Paradise have grown in just a couple weeks since I last posted. They are stunning. Some of the pictures you can see the true hot pink that they are, and then in some of them they look a little more red. But these are grown in garden socks along the side of my garage, and the ones up front in the garage are in self-watering pots. Check out my video on those. I did a video on the garden socks and self-watering pots so that you understand how that all works. This is the west side of my house where I started the video at. Those little hotties there, they are getting ready to burst into full bloom. Can't wait. Still on the west side of my house, these are my knockout roses. I shared that story with you in my last video about all the bees and how we hacked them down. And they are just winners all the way around. This is they're finishing up their first set of blooms. I cut off and deadheaded many of the blooms, and this is what's left. And then it will recycle again and give me another full burst of blooms. Working my way around and down the hill. This is the northwest side of my house. Remember I said in the last video that this hill was just starting to burst into bloom and looking so beautiful? Well, this is in all its glory, and I didn't want you to miss it. I made sure I took pictures. Look at those roses and those daylilies. Oh my heavens. And that sedum to die for. Earlier in the season, I shared the proven winners Italian Ice and the Easy Elegance Calypso Rose, how I alternate these rose bushes on this hill. And this is just a beautiful mix of them all together. See how they're intertwining? I love them. Also up on the hill, I don't think I pointed this out last time, but I have 3 Limelight Primes. And they are starting to bud. They just look like green bushes right now. Nothing to really talk much about. But you can see right there. And wow, do they put on a show. So next time I hope to be sharing all of those. The hydrangea standards are doing okay. The hydrangeas themselves are doing marvelous. But my Supertunias back here, they are struggling. And I think it's due to the fact that we haven't had a lot of warm enough weather, number one, not enough sunlight, number two, because we've had such a dreary June. So I am hoping, just like my front mailbox, if I just give it some wait time and lots of love and singing to and Cumbia, that it will eventually perk up. Because look, I mean, we have lots of blooms, but just not vibrant blooms like out front, because those are the exact same flowers that I have at the front of the house. And it gets a lot more sun at the front of the house. Now let me go show you each of the hydrangeas, because there's something special about each one. So this particular hydrangea standard, someone asked me in the last video, what is the black rim on my barrel down there? And I forgot to mention that in the last video. I went to Lowe's, and in their pond section they had a pond liner that fit perfectly inside the whiskey barrel. And I only knew that because they had the whiskey barrels pretty close to the pond liners. And I was thinking, man, that wood is going to rot fast being out in the weather and the snow. And I was trying to find a pot to fit in it. And lo and behold, I just happened to look up in their top tier shelf back in the all their gardening section. I just looked up. I don't know what made me look up, but there was this black big pot. And I thought, that's not a pot, that's a pond liner. And I asked the people to get it down. One of the workers, she got it down. And even on the tag, it said it fit inside a whiskey barrel. So they must have, you know, collaborated sometime along the way, because I find it ironic that they would actually talk about how it fits a whiskey barrel. So if you're thinking about the whiskey barrel, I can tell you what, I haven't had one budge of these barrels. They are heavy duty, and we have had some nasty storms barrel through, and these trees aren't going anywhere. In fact, I'm a little concerned about how I am going to overwinter them. But I'm thinking, since it's in a barrel and in a pond liner, which says that it is frost free, frost resistant, haha. I'm not so sure about Ohio's weather. That might give it some extra protection. And then I might, because there's no way I'm going to be able to move those like I usually do. You know, I usually move them over here along this wall, and then it gets natural rain and light, but it's kind of protected from all of the harsh winter, and they worked out really well. But I can't budge them. They're too heavy. So I might have to get a little more creative, because I don't think I want to risk losing these trees, because they're just too pretty. And do a little more research on how to overwinter them out in the open like this. So that'll be something that we study over the winter, and hopefully they come back next year. Now this particular hydrangea and this one right there, both of these ones in the center, they're a little bit different than the ones on the end that I just was talking about. These two hydrangeas, they flop really bad in storms, but look, mine's standing straight up. And I promised you that I would keep reporting on this cage system I've been doing. Look at this. You can't even tell it's in there, can you? Until you get right up on it. Now in the back, it still sticks out quite a bit because there's nothing really going on back here, but nobody ever sees it. But if I were, you know, worried about the look, I could always trim that off and you wouldn't see it, but why trim it off? I think it gives it some extra protection and holds it up even more. But look at these beautiful buds. Yes, it's going to be pretty. Nice and healthy. See, these look healthy. They're just not as vibrant as my front ones. And I thought maybe I'd be risking putting Supertunias out here because I don't know if it actually gets enough light. Last year I did Supertunias but not the Vistas, and I think there's a difference between Supertunias and Vistas, or Supertunias and Vista Supertunias. I'm pretty confident I read somewhere in their labeling that the Supertunias can tolerate a little more shade than the Vistas. And I've always put just the regular Supertunias back here and haven't had an issue. Whereas this year I tried a Vista, and maybe that's my difference. We will see. It could be weather related too. So over the next couple weeks, I'm hoping to report that they are taking off because our weather is starting to really increase. Last week we were in the 70s. Today we're in the 90s. And we're going to be in that heat bubble wave that they're talking about over the 4th of July. So fingers crossed that all of my plants do well. My extra pots back here that I put hostas in, they're doing well. I think that's a pretty combination with the dark and green. The dark ivy and the green. The potato vine, I mean. Just stunning. And I have several of those pots going down. This one's a little bit different. So pretty. But self-watering pot. And on the east side of the house, I have lots of blooms coming out. These are my Bobos. And look at this. This is my little Quickfire. Isn't that beautiful? Bobo. And then the Quickfire in the background. So I alternated those again. Quickfire, little Quickfire, and Bobo. And the winter, the showstopper, the corner of my house once it's in full bloom, my vanilla strawberry hydrangea tree, and oh my, look. Oh, it won't be long. And my autumn joy sedum at the bottom, starting to put on a show as well. Around the front of the house, my Proven Winners salsa mango or mango salsa roses, they're past their bloom cycle, and they will continue to bloom like this the rest of the season. I believe I have one more big show of blooms, and then little shows like this. But look at this. These are little hotties. Those are little hotties. And someone mentioned in the last video in one of the comments that maybe my tree was struggling because it was buried too deep. And you know what? I started pulling back the mulch because I think year after year after year, the mulch gets higher and higher and higher. And I pulled it back. Look how much I pulled it back. So I am going to see if that will help, because we certainly haven't had the hot weather. And we'll see how it does. Look at that. Pretty amazing, huh? So I thank my viewer for giving me that suggestion, and we'll see how this tree does the rest of the summer. Underneath my tree here, this tree is really growing quickly. It's a lollipop crabapple. Needs trimmed. But underneath it, these are tiny Quickfires. And these are just the start of the blooms. Pretty soon, those blooms will be almost the entire stalk of the leaf area. So they look tiny now, but pretty soon these blooms will be all the way down here and be one massive cone. It's just amazing that a tiny little plant like that can have such a big cone by fall. And look at my Heuchera. Oh, isn't that pretty? Sweet. And then we're back around front. But I have my center island that I want to share with you. And I have a couple gardening tricks for someone my age, because I'm just to the point where I'm not as gentle in gardening anymore, but it still works. So let me share. In addition to my gardening this year, I received this as a gift for my retirement, and I love it. I can put my tools in the side as I use them, and even if I don't sit on it all the time, it's a nice way to carry around my tools, and when I get tired I can sit, or I can turn it upside down and kneel. I love it. So thank you to my neighbor who purchased that for my retirement gift. If you'll take a look here, I used this very inexpensive hand saw or weed cutter or whatever you want to call it. I don't even know what it's called. I just know it does its job. And I cut down the irises. They were starting to turn, you know, the ugly yellowish brown, so it was time to trim them down. And I'm glad I did, because I was able to get inside and get all the yucky brown leaves that were there. You can even still see I got some on the tips there that I should have gotten, but I'm tired, so I think it's good enough. I went around and tried to do as much weeding as I can. It is shocking how many weeds grow up in this flower bed. It really upsets me, but I just try to go out and pull once a week. There's my beautiful roses. Look at these beautiful roses. And then my clematis here. It is done blooming. Every season after it blooms, I cut it down just like this. And I know I probably have some gasp out there, but you know what? I hate the ugly brown stems that are left. Look at this over here. Look how brown that is. But I also see green inside the stem, so I know they're still alive. They'll regenerate their leaves. This one I didn't have to cut down nearly as far because it still had some green leaves on it, but this one's just starting again. But I cut it down, and it will bloom for me one more time. With this weather pattern we've had a very late spring coming in. In fact, right now it's only in the 70s, and we're getting close to July here in Ohio 6B. It is ridiculous. The weather, the rain, I mean, this is squishy as we've had so much rain. So today's gardening was making sure that I got the irises trimmed, my clematis trimmed, weeds pulled in my front bed, and that's how I do it. I just do it in sections so that I don't get too tired. And look at this Rose of Sharon. It's getting ready to bloom. Look. Ooh, it's gonna be full here pretty soon. Gorgeous. And just last week I did one more gardening hack that I wanted to share with you. Sorry for the repeat of information. So this is the brand. It's on my Amazon storefront, and it also has a longer blade, about 9 inches, for trimming bushes. I've had this for probably 5 years now. Love it, but look what I can do now with this creeping phlox here. I like to shape it in my driveway. It comes to a point. Please excuse me, I'm in my work clothes here. Boots. Filthy top. Oh well. So this is what it looks like when it's all shaped. And then the pieces that have roots on it, I transplanted it in the widest part of the peak and found my drip system, the pipe that runs along there, and I tapped into it. I put a hole and then a 1/4 inch leader. And these leaders have holes every 6 inches to help water the new sprouts. And here you can see the water dripping. So that's how I keep this little area going and getting bigger and bigger each year. And it seems to work out just great. And here I put the stones back up so it looks natural. And as I close my video, I just have to share my sunset. The sun is setting over the backyard pond. Isn't that gorgeous? I hope you have a happy 4th of July, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.